meantime, my guest, of course, today, my partner, my husband, Mr. Bo West, my lovely friend, Anastasia Anderson, with a design eye, and, of course, my partner in crime fighting, Mr. Greg Burrow, and known from us for Dragons Lair Comics and Fantasy. And we are going to be talking about Black History Month. We're celebrating Black History Month today. And to keep it fresh from last year's Black History Month celebration, rather than go over a history of Black characters or the importance of Black character representation, because if that's not a given by now, there's something wrong with you socially. But we're actually going to go over news. Talk about roughly the future of Black superheroes and comic books right now. And we're going to basically be going over a 2021. It's only February, so some stuff has kind of come out, but we're going to talk about that, review it, and get you interested and excited about it. And we're going to tell you about some great things coming up that you're going to want to check out. It's going to tie back to some of our other episodes that we talked about, so make sure you're liking and subscribing and following us at Kaiju Lives Media on YouTube. And so when we reference other shows, that you can go back and get more information if you're still interested in them. Always wonderful, fun guests on here. And I'm going to let Miss Anastasia take over from here. She's going to bring us in.
Then yeah, cool. Sorry, guys. This was meant to be a Milestone Zero episode, and everybody decided they weren't coming out yet.
Yes.
So, it's
everybody over at DC.
Yeah, DC kind of bumped all the Milestone, and it's all going to be digital, but it's they bumped everything back. So instead of having Milestone this month like we were supposed to have, they bumped everything.
Yeah, originally announced at the DC Expo thing, the fake Comic-Con or whatever DC did back last year. They were basically saying that it was going to come out to celebrate Black History Month. Oh,
DC fandom. That's
DC
the word.
fandom.
I was sitting there like,
thank you.
What was it? I watched it. What am I doing?
There's some new news, and I forgot to put it on the agenda. So yeah, so originally it was supposed to come out this month, and that's what we're going to talk about, and we're still going to talk about some of that.
Yeah, which if anybody needs to look for reference, it's like I'm having a slightly harder time finding the Milestone comics in stores just because it's an older set of books. But they did actually for February release them all digitally.
Oh, okay.
So the only one they didn't release was Blood Syndicate.
So make sure you guys go and check out our Milestone celebration episode that we did. It's going to be on our YouTube page, and you can learn more in depth. But just to give you the quick lowdown, Milestone was a creator-owned imprint back in the 90s after Todd McFarlane and other creators broke off to create the independent Image Comics. And we'll talk about that in a minute more too. DC actually, in one of its very, very few creator-owned collaborations with Dwayne McDuffie and Dennis Cohen. Thank you, Dennis Cohen, and a lot of other minority characters created a minority universe, and it was one of the first mainstream marketed, distributed, and amazing stuff. And of course, the biggest thing to come out of that most people will be familiar with is
Static Shock.
Comic book Static, adapted to the Emmy Award-winning television program Static Shock, which, by the way,
is now on HBO Max.
Oh, all the seasons are on HBO Max?
Are all of them? I haven't gotten to check that far.
I think 3 seasons.
3 seasons.
Okay. Still worth it. It's like, even if you haven't heard of any of these other characters, you've heard of Static Shock at least.
Mm.
It's like, and
he's become such a mainstream popular character.
We didn't even think about it.
Well, for several years ago, he's one of the only Milestone characters that got transplanted into the main DCU, and at some point, everyone forgot he was not original, because they started dropping all the other Milestone characters slowly off.
Mm.
He's the only one that hang on, and it's like they forgot he was originally Milestone.
Right. Well, it's like and it's like they kept most of the same stories. Just I hadn't thought about it until you were like, yes.
Am I wrong in thinking that Milestone is still technically part of the regular DC continuity?
I would say so, but there's been so many, like New 52. There's been
right. Well, I know that.
It's like just continuity.
I know that Wildstorm, which is another creator-owned imprint, is the one originally headed up by Jim Lee. I know that one comes in and out at DC's pleasure, and now they're completely moving them out, and they're putting Milestone back in their own continuity because, Jim Lee is...
Yeah, but except for in one of the Future State books, doesn't...
In one of the Future State, Grifter's in there, I know. And Midnighter.
So,
but
are they part of the main DCU or not?
That's confusing, I don't know. Oh God, we're going to do a whole new episode later on Multiple linear verse. It's just like you're trying too hard, guys. You're trying too hard.
We'll talk about that.
We'll talk about that one later. But the Milestone universe, as far as I know, it is still considered. They're still there because they still interact very frequently, and also the Milestone characters have been in other adaptations of the media. Because I know Static and Icon, and all of them are in Young Justice and stuff like that.
Icon, Rocket.
Yeah, so.
Even though it's like, that's the only thing that surprised me, because Brad's the one who introduced me to Icon, like, hey, have you seen this character before? And I actually hadn't. So I sat down and read the first like 10 issues. And yeah, I had never heard of this character before. And I was like, when they decided he was going to come back, I was like, cool. Because it's a good, it's like, I like these characters because they're topical. They're good commentary about stuff, and it's unfortunately commentary we can still use now.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Although I will point out, Brad was complaining about the Icon costume because from a cosplay point of view,
he said
the original was so much.
It was so cool.
He sent me a message. Yeah, he sent me a message about it.
I love that costume. They updated, modernized it, and they just homogenized it. It's so lame. There's no unique, outstanding character. Like they really dumbed it down. And the original costume, even though it had some elements I didn't like, I did not like the combination of both metallic silver and metallic gold. I mean, that's just too much. Like, pick one. But like, and I know that there was like, for those of you that haven't seen our like Black History presentations in the past, there was always a really bad tendency for people to automatically in comic books associate Black people with Africa. So almost like at least 90%.
Everybody has a red, black, and green.
Yeah,
costume.
red, black, and green costume. Everybody. And
it's
then,
like, or it's a caricature costume.
Or it's got yellow in it, and it looks like, I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, but Icon had it worked. He had a red suit with a green cape and a simple gold ring, and
there was a reason for it. Too.
Yes.
Like it wasn't just
this is what I have in my closet.
Yeah.
Which is a much longer conversation.
Yeah, this is a Rocket basically designed these costumes, and she designed it for a reason because Icon is supposed to literally be an icon for the Black community, and it's like it's one of those I can excuse it, I get it, and then they redid his costume, and I was like, I don't like this.
It's red and black. It's really
one. It's just red and black. Two, the red parts all used to be actual something, not just a pattern on his suit. Because the stripes that come here were the under part of the harness.
That was the harness. Yeah, it's really
looking. It's like the hoop, and then the cape tied to the hoop.
And
he's still got the harness underneath it, but it's drawn on. It's like it's just a stripe now.
The only other thing that I keep like just complaining about every time I see it is people have decided that they're just gonna get rid of any color breaking up down here. Yeah. So I'm just
because they're afraid of the underwear on the outside.
Which, whatever, we don't care.
Well, okay.
We're not gonna rehash that.
No, so. I'm gonna say this one bit. As the materials that their uniforms or suits are made of have evolved, the need for the briefs or trunks, like swim trunks, becomes less necessary.
Yeah, I get it.
Because in the whole 52, Superman, who is already invulnerable, is wearing armor.
Well, he wore it in homage to his people.
Yeah,
so
it
wasn't necessary. It was.
It's more of a way the line cuts, because it's like for his, it kind of just doesn't arch right here, and so you just have this giant patch of black down here, and I'm like, I don't know why I don't like it.
Yeah. I don't. It just did. I didn't feel it. So
you don't have to put the briefs on there. Just do something.
So you got some dates for us, roughly what to expect. They're only doing which titles right now?
Okay, so it's like for right now digitally you can buy both issues of Icon and Rocket. You can buy hardware and you can buy Static Shock. The only one you can't get is Blood Syndicate, but you can. It's one of those. I'm sure it'll come up this month.
Okay,
but the main dates of what everything got moved to, this Friday, you can get the full issue of Milestone Returns in Infinite Edition 0, which is basically just an overview of everybody. That's the 26th, whatever that is. I don't know anymore.
Okay.
And then for Future State, Static is getting a mini-series on April 12th. Icon and Rocket gets another series on June 21st, and then Hardware gets one on the 23rd.
Okay.
Which I'm not surprised, because the Hardware one was the least impressive for me. I just really liked Icon.
Yeah,
Sorry, guys.
and I feel bad. I feel bad if I influenced your decision, because that's what I thought when I told you about them anyway.
Well, well, I still gave it a shot. I still spent the money and was like, let's read what this is. And I'm like, my problem isn't that he's not impressive. It's that I don't particularly care for Iron Man as a character.
Yeah.
So when it's like, oh, this is basically Black Iron Man with some other nuances, I was like, this is neat, but I don't like this as much as I like Icon.
And it's the genre of the piece.
Yeah, it's one of those.
I much more enjoy my Thor comic books than I do Iron Man because of the fantasy aspects.
Yeah, it's one of those. Anybody who's met me knows that me saying a movie is bad or me saying a book I don't care for a book, it's not going to stop me from reading it. Like, it's like,
I mean,
this
we're
is.
Still, never mind,
This isn't a bashing anybody about anything. I think I ran through so much stuff that by the time I got to Hardware, I was like,
meh. Right.
Yeah.
I think that's how we were with Future State at one point. Actually, real quick, everybody while you're home, you might not know this, but we can actually see your comments and reactions. If you have any questions or anything, please pop up and we will try and talk with you.
yes, it's a work in progress, guys.
In case somebody already has.
It's a work in progress. We're figuring it out. If we don't get to yours, I'm sorry.
So
we review them afterwards, though.
On a related note, and not to hijack control from Miss Anna, I do have a new piece of news that I learned yesterday, and I forgot to put it onto the list. And this is connected to the milestone continuity.
That's about what I was just about to ask you. You guys started telling me something.
So basically, when I started about. Yeah, Milestone Comics was one of the creator-owned answers that DC put out, and that was in direct response to Image Comics. And Image Comics is particularly known for is that creator Todd McFarlane, his flagship character Spawn, who is one of the most well-known non-Marvel or DC characters out there, also is a Black character. And
yes.
And for those of you who don't remember what I was talking about earlier, one of the fun, interesting things, and there's an article you can read online, so make sure you look up Todd McFarlane announces Spawn Universe. But he was talking about the inception and the creation.
Spawn what?
Spawn Universe. So he's talking about the inception and the creation of Spawn and why he made him a Black character and why it was important that he not reveal that until the 10th issue in or something.
Right. Well,
you had no idea.
The reveal you told me was kind of funny.
Yeah,
too,
exactly. So, and there was a reason behind that, and you'll have to read his politics on that because I don't want to speak for the man. But excitingly, though, he has announced Spawn Universe. They're going to be doing some new Spawn concepts, and they're going to be spinning them out, and they're going to start having more minority characters, more minority creators in some of the titles. So I highly recommend you checking that out. Something he is projected for. So
I'm excited.
At least for once, though, one of these guys is just like straight up, and he's like, no, like. When somebody comes to buy my company, I want them to buy a Marvel or a DC. I want them to buy like a lot when somebody buys me out. When my Disney comes along, I'm gonna give them their money's worth. So anyway, that was interesting.
Yeah,
so make sure you look that up. New interesting Spawn.
Oh, that'll get me all excited because I'm already spending way too much money on this in the last couple months, and now I'm like, all right, let's add this to the list. I'm down.
He's creating a whole new continuity with interconnecting comics.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Is there a second?
A second what?
Computer monitor?
On the screen, there's something covering my face.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. It's just it's like we're doing this all through Skype.
Yeah.
It's causing.
It's a picture within a picture, and you just have to look at the smaller picture. Okay, so that.
It's like, but yeah. So the other one we'll transition to, even though I know you guys just listened to us talk about this like a month ago, is all the future state stuff.
Yes, so the Future State stuff, as we talked about last month, was a 2-month initiative, and they have recently announced what happens after that 2 months, and it's a new series coming out called Infinite Frontier. It's going to be the new thing, and basically, like we postulated, Future State was kind of let's throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks, and now we know what's going to stick. So now we know it's going to stick, and there's some 4 really good titles coming out of that.
It's like, it's like. A lot of new BS stuff is coming out, which I already told people. It's like, what Wonder Woman one was it? Immortal Wonder Woman? Okay. Yeah.
It has a backup feature with Nubia.
It's like, so yeah, with all of them, or with the majority of the characters that are in this, they're basically the second half of these books. And so for Immortal Wonder Woman, you have Diana first, and then it's the Nubia story. And sorry guys, Nubia is the better story. So
which is why she's going to get a more prominent role in the Wonder Woman books now. And
and I'm keeping track of it basically for her.
Hopefully to a self-contained ongoing would be nice to see.
Yeah, and it's like, it's interesting.
Which I actually kind of liked. I liked that the sisters were in the same book.
Yeah.
Because,
It's like, and it's one of those, it's like, I read depressingly fast. So to have it break up into two stories, especially when one was starting to run out of steam, I was like, okay, I'm going to like this.
Yeah.
It just, it's like she has one, and as Greg has mentioned to me before, there is a young adult Nubia YA novel.
And
what is it? Real One?
It's Nubia, the Real One.
Real One. Okay.
And that's coming out, I think, this week.
This week?
Is it this week?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to it. Like we said, we really enjoyed the Diana Princess with the Mascara one, and some of the other ones that came out of this series, and so
they're starting to grow on me.
Yeah. So the Nubia one is coming out, and it looks really good. It's
it's so cute.
Yeah, the design of it is really cute. The panels that have been released that you read, it's got a good flow to it, and it seems like it's going to be I'm really excited to read it.
Right. It's a good way to divvy it up, because it's like, I mean, you've got, because especially with Future State, it's like super depressing thing, kind of funner thing, but more adult thing, and then it's like I throw a little YA novel in between, and I'm like, okay, this isn't as bad now.
Yep.
It's like, I'm having fun.
Makes it more palatable.
Yeah. In Infinite Frontier, at the very least, we are aware of 3 of the ongoings that are kind of come out of it. Tim Fox Batman, the new Batman from Future State, is going to be getting a book called Batman the Detective. Originally, they were going to call it
the next Batman.
Yeah.
He was in Dark Detective.
No, not Dark Detective. It's just called The Detective, because they originally wanted it to do it.
Is that? Yes, that was the cover I found.
Is that it?
Yep, it's called The Next Batman.
Yeah, that's what it's called in Future State.
Yeah.
When Future State is over, he's going to get his own ongoing series called Batman the Detective.
And this was something that they were really super excited about. Because on DC Fan Days, they were going on and on and on about that, and they talked to the creator.
Yeah, I like the cover art of this.
So he's getting an ongoing after Future State is over.
Because I have a hard time remembering, is the next Batman the one that has the full cowl covering completely?
Yes.
I think so, yeah.
That is the next Batman, correct.
Okay. Because I know there was another, unless I'm confused, because that could be easily.
You're fine.
There was another Black Batman, wasn't there?
Not in that, no.
Oh, okay. I
Luke, who had previously been Batwing, was in the feature with Grifter.
Right, I remember that.
Oh, he's the one in the
issue. The Nightwing issue. I don't remember him having the full face covering or not now.
That's
where I'm confusing because that's not a consistent timeline.
Correct. The confusing thing about Future State, it is multiple futures. One is set 5 years in the beginning when he's starting off as the new Batman. He's got the full face covering because he doesn't want anybody to know he's not the original Batman. By the time you get to the other piece, which is further in the future, and he's in the Justice League, he's not wearing it.
Okay.
So is it Luke or Tim in Dark Detective?
It is Tim in both of them. He's Batman in both of them.
Yes, because that's the tone I'm excited about. In the second half of Dark Detective, Tim Fox teams up with Grifter, and
no, that is Luke. That's Luke.
That is Luke.
Yeah. That was Luke.
It's like
Luke originally was Batman. So Luke.
I was super excited about that. So I liked that, and I wanted more of it.
Prior to the Future State, Luke was Batwing. He took over Batwing from the Batman of Africa. He took over the Batwing suit by stealing a prototype that his father had made for Batman. Luke, his dad never found out that he was Batwing. He never found out he was Batwing. Well, then when he decided to end up taking over for his father, running Wayne Tech, and he ended up not being Batwing anymore. That's why his brother, who I didn't even know was a character until this, that's why he ended up being Batman. And it was a mislead. Everybody wanted you to think that it was Luke, but it was really his brother. Now, there was a backup feature with Luke as Luke, not in costume, with Grifter. In fact, he even says at one point, Grifter even asked him why he didn't take over as Batman, and he's like, my dad, would have killed me if he ever found out I was. He's like, my dad would have killed me if ever found out that I was Batwing, much less, Batman.
Right. It just it's, and we'll reference this later on the line. It's like, I like those terrible buddy cop movie tropes.
Yes.
And so.
But you're right. That was actually truly the most entertaining for me of that book was the Grifter Luke Fox. I loved it.
Right. Well, and it was such a good contrast because it's like the beginning of Dark Detective was so diddly dang depressing.
Yeah.
And then suddenly it's like, here's a cute buddy cop movie.
Yes.
Where they're just being pals around trying to fight crime and junk. And I was like, I'm in. I'm in.
Right.
This is fun.
Mr. Miracle, you found out about this character, Shiloh Norman.
I didn't know who he was.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, it's cool. He's in the Superman Future State backup.
Oh, okay. It was one of the ones I didn't read.
Yeah, so he's in the Superman Future State backup, and he's going to be getting an ongoing one. The interesting thing about Mr. Miracle, Shiloh Norman, he's actually the second Mr. Miracle, and he was a character created by in the 80s. He was created after Justice League Europe, so it was the 80s.
Was it before that? I mean, because wasn't it?
I saw 70s and I saw 80s.
70s? Okay.
Yeah.
No, so he actually is really a good, interesting character because he's one of the few pre-existing legacy characters of color. So he was all the way back then. He took over for Mr. Miracle, who was one of the new gods from Apocalypse and everything. And Mr. Miracle had retired and taught Shiloh Norman how to use his equipment. And then eventually they both were like roughly.
I remember a period where there were two Mr.
Yeah,
Miracles.
it's kind of like the Spider-Man thing now, where you've got both Miles Morales and Peter Parker are Spider-Man. For a while, they were both Shiloh Norman and Scott Free were Mr. Miracle. So
yeah, it's like
he was just the other Mr. Miracle, I guess.
It's like, so his power set is that he's an escape artist, or
yes. They're both master escape artists. The original concept for Mr. Miracle is that and you'll see this. We'll talk about the Snyder cut of Justice League coming up here in a minute. But Darkseid and the villains of Apocalypse were at war with Highfather and the quote-unquote heroes of New Genesis, and this was what you call the fourth world. It was the new gods. They're basically what they are, the new gods. And we had talked about that.
Yeah, we've talked about
that a lot. But
we'll have to do a new god.
So for a while there was a treaty in which both Darkseid and Highfather swapped. They baby swapped. They basically. And so Darkseid was to raise Scott, and Highfather was to raise Orion. Orion grew up to be a hero, even though an incredibly aggressive one who had to actually wear like an electronic. He had wore a mother box to keep his anger in check. And of course Scott, it was a weird nurture nature because one hand nurture brought him up good, and the other one his good nature overrode it. And so his whole thing was he was being tortured and trained by Granny Goodness and the hell pits and everything. And he got really good at learning how to escape, until eventually he was the first person to ever escape Apocalypse.
That is badass.
And so he came to Earth, used all the technology and his slightly altered new god physiology to help him become an escape artist / superhero, and he ended up being on the Justice League and various
other. For a while, he was just a performer. Until someone figured out he was actually a new god, and then the Justice League is going, "Hey, new god, come on over here, let's play."
So so he ended up being on the Justice League for a while, but at some point he helped Big Barda, who was one of the female Furies of Apocalypse, escape, because they were in love, and she turned on Darkseid too and became hero. And Barda, you've seen in other things. So they got married, and he temporarily retired. So he passed on the mantle to one of the assistants that had worked in the show, Shiloh Norman, who had been studying with him and everything. And he became Mr. Miracle for a while it was just the technology. He was an Earth person. He didn't have the new God's super strength and durability.
He was just very good at using the technology.
Yes, and he was very, very smart. You had to be. That's kind of the whole thing with Mr. Miracle. It's like his
brains overwrought.
His books are based on being clever and ingenuitive, and he's like the MacGyver of superheroes. That's his whole thing.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's like he can use anything, at his disposal to get out of any situation.
He can still teach Batman a thing or two about.
Oh yeah, he actually in the comic books did train Batman to be an escape artist. How to escape. He's the one who trained Batman how to escape locks and chains and stuff.
Oh, that is so cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm down.
So yeah, interesting character, and like I said, Shiloh Norman is interesting and fun. Farscape. I have not read.
Far Sector.
Far Sector.
Yeah. Far Sector. I
did not read Far Sector, so I'm gonna let somebody who's read that tell about it. But or anybody, jump in now. Sorry.
I've only had the fortune of reading the first issue. I really enjoyed it.
Is it cool?
It was.
Who's the writer on that?
Because I've only read the one issue, I cannot remember her name for the life of me. I can't see that far.
All right. N.K.
Dang
Jemisin.
it, I was just staring at the word.
N.K. Jemisin?
But no.
N.K. Jemisin is the name of
the writer?
Yeah, and the Green Lantern's name is Sojourner Joe Mullion.
Sojourner?
Like Sojourner Tooth.
Sigourney. Or I don't know who Sojourner is. Sojourner. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was about to say no.
Well,
but they called her Joe in the book. They called her Joe in the book.
They call her Joe, yeah.
Yeah, they call her Joe because it doesn't sound as catchy.
Yeah,
even though the other name's really pretty.
She's given a ring that has a single charge good for 365 days.
Basically, yeah.
Which, why on Earth year? Anyways.
It's basically Babylon 5, but in Green Lantern.
Yeah.
It's a space station on the edge of the known universe where they have no Green Lanterns, no space sectors covered, and there's all these new aliens.
Technically, the Corps has no jurisdiction.
So the Corps has no jurisdiction. So they send her in with instead of like the normal Green Lantern ring, which has to be recharged every 24 hours, hers is unlimited. It only has to be recharged every year. So she gets one full year, and they just leave her there. And they're like, if we come back in a year and you're okay, hey, all right.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. Yeah.
If you die, well, then we won't pick you up.
Then this was a failed experiment.
It was a failed experiment, pretty much. And so she was really popular in stuff, and so they're bringing her to actually the main Green Lantern.
That's one of the things I liked in the Future State. Is she's in that's why I was confused about.
She's the Green Lantern or Future State.
Yeah, that's why I was confused about the Mask, No Mask.
Oh, okay.
Because in the Justice League book, Batman, not wearing the underneath the cowl, actually comments about, because someone comments, well, Batman, aren't you supposed to be the world's greatest detective? And he's like, oh no,
the other guy.
That's her.
Yeah. I love it. That is funny that Tim Fox is like, I am not the greatest detective. I'm the new Batman, but I'm not the new Bruce Wayne Batman.
He's like, no, she's the greatest detective.
Right? It's like, I'm
Which
sorry,
I love
you thought
because she immediately looks at him. And just reading the scene, the body language and everything, I can totally see it. She just looks at him. Fine, go away. And she shoots them off while she does forensics.
I love it. Oh, that has me all excited.
Let's take a break from comic books for a moment and talk about video games.
Yeah.
Has anybody had a chance to play that new Spider-Man game?
Yeah, he's played it.
How is it?
So
good.
Is it?
Good. It is a wonderful.
I've got the story synopsis. So.
Yeah, it's a wonderful continuation of the PS4 Spider-Man game, which was amazing.
Right.
Evan Narcisse wrote it, who wrote the story and everything, he's the one who wrote Rise of the Black Panther.
Right.
Which was a really good Black Panther book for, of course, Marvel Comics. And I've met him several times. He's a really amazing guy all on his own. But what I really loved what he did with the game is that he really added ethnicity in there.
Okay, so it wasn't
Miles
just like
and
a black
his mom
character in a white world.
in Spanish.
Oh no.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Is he's Afro-Latino.
Miles Morales,
right?
Animated, they did that.
Yeah, well, and that's the charm. That's the charm of his character, and what makes a huge difference between the world a lot of us live in.
Yeah.
Like this is even watching Enter the Spider-Verse. It's like, that's a very normal scenario for a lot of people instead of just being like, we're just gonna put him in the snooty high school.
Right.
Like we did with Peter. It's fine.
But also, like, for example, he runs across, there's this one artist, and she talks in sign language because she can't, she's deaf.
Nice. Okay.
So he talks to her in sign language.
Wow.
He actually talks to her. And I don't think she's deaf. I think that.
Did they accurately like show her doing the sign language too?
I think so.
Oh,
pretty sure it was mocap, and they had to have gotten somebody to mocap. Right?
Yeah.
Well, and it's like, considering it's a Sony game, all the money they dumped into it, because I've seen the graphics. The graphics are freaking beautiful.
And the designs.
Oh, they're beautiful.
We've already pre-ordered the Crimson Cowl pop. I love that costume. It is so sweet.
Some of the side games, I love that. Like in the side games in the first PS4 game, they were very Peter-centric.
Right.
Because they were very like, okay, you have to do science or fake science to get points to update your, With Miles, it's different. You don't do science, you do other things.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like, there's like actually like sound challenges and stuff like that where you gotta like record sounds in the city. And stuff like that. And so, so I mean, it's just some really, really cool and interesting things. And it's and then of course, in this story, Peter Parker has gone off with Mary Jane on. She's like working for the Daily Bugle.
Okay.
And so he's gone with her.
Yeah.
So they're out of the country.
Yeah.
So he can't come back.
So he's watching the city and he's on his own.
And he's on his own.
All right. Nice.
And so Peter Parker left little like computerized things for him to like train and stuff.
Oh,
okay, that's cool.
That's even more fun.
Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of cool because like Peter's helping him out, but he's not.
Even though he's
there.
not there.
Yeah.
I have heard nothing but glowing reviews about this game.
Yeah.
I'm just a poor who can't keep spending money on this.
One day we dream.
I'll just have to bring my PS4 over here and we'll just play.
I'd be down.
We're gonna move on to live action now.
Oh, we're gonna talk about this.
So do we want to DC or Marvel, you guys? Who are we gonna go first?
I always say Marvel.
Always say Marvel first. Or you want me to say Marvel?
Make mine Marvel.
It's like it's a balance because it's like basically the two that we have over here are Cyborg and Bloodsport, and there's a lot going on with each. There's one that has a lot going on, and then one that really doesn't have anything going on. We're just like, what? So
yeah.
Let's take the easy one first, and let's do Bloodsport.
So Disney Marvel. Disney Plus.
That's it all, guys.
Disney Plus Marvel. Of course, by now, if you've not been living under a rock, which presumably, if you're watching us, you have not, you have seen the Disney Plus Marvel.
You know what? At this point, you should be living under a rock.
Right.
So
I don't know. For about a week, Texas was living under a rock, guys. I'm not sure that. Under a very, very cold rock called an iceberg. But Falcon and the Winter Soldier trailer from Super Bowl, which we all got super excited about, and showed a lot more fun stuff, and a lot more. I'm so excited for this.
Yeah, it is going to be really funny.
I'm excited for it, and from what I heard, they're going to introduce a bunch of characters, and they're bringing Zemo back for this. So
yes.
And so I have to admit,
see what he had in his
He's got the mask.
I have to admit, I was not super excited for Falcon and Winter Soldier, but y'all also know me. I'm much more of a fantasy guy. That's why Wanda and her magic plus Loki coming later on are what really appealed to me.
The actor who's
but the trailer, the Super Bowl trailer. Wow. The Super Bowl trailer really did make me excited for that one.
That's the one I've been most excited about. Greg and I got to meet Anthony Mackie, and he is
so amazing.
So
I
amazing.
He's the coolest
guy. And
you get to meet
Sebastian
Stan's also really amazing.
Yeah.
The thing that really impressed me about Anthony Mackie though is that when we were in line, he actually was doing like math tricks for kids.
Yeah.
And he was like saying, "Now you see, you guys stay in school.
Yeah.
You know, you need to go to college, all this kind of stuff." And he was like, really, he was really inspirational for the kids.
Yeah.
Which I thought was amazing.
Batman and Robin got to see that a lot closer than
Sebastian Stan was super nice, but he was kind of a little more reserved, so we didn't get much of the personality out of him. And he's just like totes gorgeous too.
Yeah,
but
it's like Anthony Mackie though seems like that guy.
He is
like
that guy.
He
is the guy. He's the perfect guy because I mean, and it's not just that Sam Wilson is the perfect successor to Steve Rogers. It's that Anthony Mackie has those qualities that Chris Evans has too.
He's such a fun, charming
he's
actor.
fun and charming and invested in people and the fans and stuff, you know. And so that's actually one of the reasons it's like very exciting.
Right. Well, and they structured it differently than what I thought, because it's like I thought they were gonna play it more straight, like closer to old Captain America stuff, and then they were like, oh yeah, no, by the way, it's another buddy cop thing.
Yeah.
Just they're gonna solve crimes together.
The one complaint I have is I really want to see a 70s style Captain America and Falcon team up
in their
television.
Yeah, where he's actually I do love that they were finally not afraid to put him in a colorful costume because it needed that red.
Yes, it
just
really
looks so good. Both of their outfits look great. I'm excited about that part. I'm excited about U.S. Agent because you know that's another character that's a fan favorite. If you ever get to read him, he was the replacement Captain America for a while. He's the aggro Captain America. He's like so that's gonna be really.
I just
Wyatt
hope we
Russell,
don't see Nuke.
Kurt Russell's son is playing him. And Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn's son is playing the U.S. Agent, so I think that's kind of interesting.
I just hope we don't see Nuke.
Yeah, they already did Nuke. Nuke was in Jessica Jones.
But that was.
Oh well, that may or might not be in continuity. That's something to think about.
Something else, even though I prefer that.
One more thing in Falcon Winter Soldier, yes, and we mentioned this last year when we were doing our Black History Month. We were talking about characters like the Buckies, which will not be in it. However, the character Battlestar, who came from that storyline, will be in there. So Battlestar is basically, in the comic books, he was U.S. Agent's sidekick-ish kind of thing. Yeah. So I'm curious to see how that's going to go.
It's like
that's an interesting character.
Yeah, because at this point they've got to accept that they can't keep secrets from us anymore. Just because the problem is everyone guesses so fast, and they kept saying like, oh, this guy's playing an interesting new character. Who could it be? And like without hesitation, everyone's like, it's Battlestar.
You know what? We're gonna come.
That's the only one.
That's the only one. We're gonna save our favorite Disney Marvel piece for a moment, and I just want to throw two more bits out there. One is Armor Wars has been announced with Don Cheadle's War Machine. In the original Armor Wars comic book story.
Yeah. Okay.
In the original Armor Wars comic book story, Tony Stark's armor got stolen and sold in the black market, and he went around like beating everybody out and taking it back. In this story, what they're doing is they're basically having all of Tony's fears come true of his technology falling into the wrong hands. Only this time it happens posthumously, leaving Rhodey to have to go clean it up. Well, so he's getting his own series on Disney Plus too.
Well, and it makes sense because the bits that I was gleaning from WandaVision and the bits that we were gleaning from like all the recent phase of stuff is that's probably what it's going to be. It's like, surprise, all of his inventions are falling into the evil people. Yeah. And we've got to figure that life out.
I have to ask this. Are you guys super excited about the news of the Moon Girl?
Moon Girl? I have not heard news of Moon Girl.
Yes.
Oh no, the Moon Girl animated. The Moon Girl animated. Yes.
What?
Yes.
There's a Moon Girl coming out.
Put a pin on that one for a second. I want to finish up with
Moon's got. You know who Lawrence Fishburne got cast as, right?
No.
The Beyonder.
Well, it had to be Lawrence Fishburne. Who else?
Okay, hold on. So we got three more bits that I want to jump on Disney real quick. Is one, and before you make me lose them, the rights to Luke Cage came up, and so Disney has the rights to Luke Cage back. Yay! Which means, with any luck, we will see. I don't know if Mike Coulter will be able to do it, or if they'll be able to use.
But they wanted to bring him back.
They wanted to, but they said only him, and I'm like, I don't remember the actress's name who played Misty Knight, but you know, Misty Knight is like close to my heart, and I want her. She was my favorite. She has to come back.
It's like they literally have to just take everybody and like grab everybody. Otherwise, it wouldn't be the same.
Yeah.
Because it's like there's characters that I'm like, no.
Yeah, I love Misty Knight so much.
You can't take them away from me.
It's really bad of me, and I'm sorry for saying this, but they can totally recast Iron Fist.
Iron Fist. No,
it wasn't his fault.
No, they need to keep Colleen. Every other character in that could have been like meh, but no, him, yeah.
But I'm just saying that the thing about that storyline was that it was the actual writing of that story that was bad.
Yeah.
It wasn't the characters.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Well, no, it wasn't the characterization.
Yeah, it wasn't the actor's fault.
Yeah, it wasn't
the
the
actors
actor's
just did
fault.
what they had.
He performed what he was given.
Yeah.
And he did so well.
I do feel bad
The
for him.
writing for the story, I'm from a very secret place and I'm this very powerful weapon.
But I'm going to
Every
tell everybody I
second
need.
scene.
Yes.
They even made fun of it in The Defenders.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, I'm sorry. The writing for Iron Fist was atrocious. The performance of the cast was excellent.
Yeah, we gotta get some touching things on here. So last two things from Disney Marvel Disney Marvel Universe, the MCU. Mahershala Ali, if you haven't heard by now, they're actually moving ahead on casting for his Blade movie.
He's gonna be Blade.
And Jonathan Majors, if you had a chance to see the HBO series Lovecraft Country, which was amazing.
And apparently getting the second season.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, I don't want it to have a second.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings. That felt
It's like
it was there. I know it was
it's like
good.
you guys don't need to watch me cry for another 3
But
months.
anyway, he may be our new Thanos. He is being cast as Kang.
As our new big bad.
Kang the
Our new
Conqueror.
big bad.
Yeah, I was like,
the new
wait.
big bad, the new Thanos.
He's the new big. Yeah, he's the new
big
final
bad.
boss.
So final boss. I like that better.
Yeah, he's the
new
final
final boss. Basically, he will be playing Kang the Conqueror, and he will appear in Ant-Man and the Wasp 3, Quantumania. If he hasn't, under some speculation, already appeared in
I guess that would
or
be
something. I don't know.
I guess that would be the third movie. My brain went,
but may appear by the end.
May be an influence. We don't know.
Yeah.
But
I don't know.
speaking of WandaVision.
Yeah, they're scaring us in WandaVision, so anything could happen.
Speaking of WandaVision,
we did it, guys.
We finally got Monica's powers.
Monica Rambeau, we did it.
She glowed. Just like Auntie Carol.
Right?
Yes,
It
she glowed just like Auntie Carol.
It took us forever because the problem is that he spent the entire time going, she's not going to get her powers this time.
I was
Every single theorist was going, no, she's not going to get her powers this time. It has to be in something else.
I figured she would get her powers in Captain Marvel too, and they were just kind of set up for it.
And it's like, that's how badly I was set up for failure, because the way they set it up is she manages to get back in the bubble, and when she gets back in, her eyes glow, and so I'm like, that doesn't mean anything yet. And then she goes to
especially because before that happened, you had all those shattered fragments of herself.
Right. And then it's like, the problem is that of all of the theories that started happening, it's like everybody was like, oh my God, are they going to bring Fantastic Four into this? And then someone else shows up and we're like, oh.
Yeah, that does that all.
Well, there's the question of who the physicist friend is.
No, we debunked that.
It was a random.
Spoilers obviously are going on here.
I'm sorry, spoilery.
I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah.
It's like, but yeah, no.
No, we waited. We waited too long.
Basically, she glows at first, and I'm like, that doesn't. That means that it started.
It started.
But that doesn't mean anything. And then something happens where she literally does the superhero landing and glows. And I was like, oh no.
She messaged me, have you watched WandaVision yet? I'm like, no. And she's like, well, you need to message me as you watch it.
You guys need to watch it right now.
And I had to pause it.
He's been waiting
I'm like,
for
no, but I screamed. He's like, there are people in the house or in the apartments. And I'm like, hold on, pause it. I want a message on it.
It's like, that was that part.
You know how long an episode of WandaVision is? It took us twice that long to watch it.
Yeah.
Stop it.
It's like, that was such a big deal to me.
Oh my God, I got a text on it.
Right?
Yeah.
That the mysterious second reveal, which I won't tell you, was not as important.
Was not as important. Yeah, not exactly me either. I was like,
other than the fact that it was there.
It was there, and it
right?
was good.
I mean,
and then I found a number of people have found out was not.
And it's water
I had
cooler.
not seen it.
It's water cooler buzzworthy, so you know.
Right? It's like the only hint I will give you is we were right. We were all right. We were right about one thing.
I know. I was right.
Of all of the stuff we spitballed
Did you guys see the after credit scene?
Yes.
Yes, I did.
Okay, and just so you know, Marvel put a stinger on this one, so make sure you stick around for this one.
Well,
yes,
I
they
worked with several people that.
But it's on
we were
streaming, so
talking about
fast forward
it,
through
and
the 10
I
minutes.
asked, literally, out of 4 people, literally half of them are going,
No.
Me and one other guy knew about it because his roommate was watching it in the other room and letting the credits play when he was about to go to something else, and then they hear it from the other room and had to rewind.
So, other than you said Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur getting animated series, I did see the concept art for that, and it does look really cute.
The thing is
I think it's done in like the new
smartest
Teenage
character
Mutant
in the Marvel universe.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And on top of that, Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah.
Do I need to say any more than that?
Yeah.
But having
now
him
like
be the
I need
Beyonder,
to find this.
that's exciting.
I don't know, because I always saw the Beyonder as being like a spoiled child kind of personality, and I'm not
very much. I see that.
I'm not sure how I can
This is
see
gonna be great.
Lawrence Fishburne doing that, but we'll see.
He's amazing. He can do anything.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no arguing that he's
the Beyonder is a cosmic being that has
Even
existed separate from intelligent life. So when they appear around, they have infinite cosmic powers, but they have a very limited understanding of interaction.
They actually are the reason for the very first Marvel Secret Wars.
Yes, which is where Monica Rambeau came from, and that's like where she was my Captain Marvel. She was always my Captain Marvel.
Which I was super excited.
And that's also where Venom came from, because that's where the Black Symbiote came from.
It's like,
it's where a lot of things happen.
It's like, and they kept saying that's probably what they're trying to allude to, is they might bring back Secret Wars. So when you said they got Luke Cage back, I was like, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
They're doing, I don't know.
I want them to get cocky. I want you to get cocky and give us all.
And there's an Ironheart series in development. I haven't seen anything much more than the announcement, though, going to that.
But Riri Williams, all by herself, is an amazing character. So I'm really excited that they're
It's going to be a fun time.
I mean, the only thing that's come out of that for sure is that Robert Downey Jr. supposedly has agreed to appear as the AI. He will be.
Yeah, he will be the Jarvis character.
He will be the Jarvis character, which is a good twist, and it's a good way to bring him back without bringing him back. So I like that.
Right?
Very much.
It's like there is actually no takesies backsies.
Yeah, and it's a good. It's a good passing of the torch, which we always love with our legacy characters, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So let's move on real quick. And if we have room for more, there's a lot. Like, this is a big year for Black superheroes, y'all. We're talking
it's so great.
But let's talk CW/DC television. There's some really great things coming out from that.
Okay.
If you have not, have you been watching Batwoman?
I still haven't.
Oh my gosh!
It's like I hear it's real good.
But... I had such deep misgivings. And it wasn't so much them transitioning to a person of color, because I don't know. It didn't logically fit this other person. Period. A stranger. Does that make sense?
A stranger
you
with
already
zero
had
connection.
And I know what they were doing politically speaking. CW was like, okay, we want to replace her, but we don't just want to replace her with another lesbian character. We still want a LGBTQ representative in the lead. And while there were two amazing characters on there, which I think story-wise would have just transitioned, I think Sophie or Julia becoming Batwoman would have been great, and it would have been easy, and it would already fit in.
Or they could have gone Mystery of the Batwoman route and done multiple people being Batwoman.
That would have been kind of fun too.
That would be a fun.
That would be a fun. You know what? CW? That would be a fun storyline if you did that.
It's like use your money wisely and just
the Andrea Beaumont character. Okay, if Andrea Beaumont shows up on Batwoman, I'm gonna call you immediately. But so yeah, it's just the idea of just like this random new person. And the creative struggles they must have gone through to make it fit logically, I couldn't have.
All I gotta say is I'm really glad that they didn't get rid of the rest of the cast.
And that too.
Because the rest of the cast, they were amazing all the way.
Yeah, so. Luke Fox and Mary, I love those characters so much. And I did have to honestly have to admit though, after we saw the first 2 episodes, I told Bo, I'm like, I'm still enjoying the Alice show because she. Skarsgård, I forget her first name. She is so Rachel Skarsgård.
She was actually in Birds of Prey.
She was in the Rachel Skarsgård is Austin.
Oh,
no,
okay.
She's not a Skarsgård. She's a Skarsgård.
You said once you pronounced it correctly, I was like, oh, okay. I was like, no, there can't be another one.
I don't know. I mean, it's like the bald ones; they just keep popping up. But yes, so she steals every scene, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
But by the time we got to the 3rd episode, and that was not far in, I'm like. I understand they can't expect to hook you on the first one, and by the second one, I was a little bit, by that 3rd episode, I think the 3rd episode was Black Girl Magic, right? It was like, oh, okay, and they gave her her own voice, they gave her her own feel, and still managed to make it fit.
Yeah.
And I say this as much as I loved Ruby Rose, because they had to think so carefully in replacing the lead, they thought more carefully about how they structured the stories, and I honestly think that this season has a potential to be better than the first season.
It's like, where is it hiding for us weirdos who don't always
it's on the CW. If you have CW Seed, you can watch it the next day. CW Seed is a free app, so watch it on there before
if
they
you're on
move it
cable,
to
you can do on demand.
before they bring it over to HBO Max and you have to pay for it. Speaking of HBO Max, let's talk real quick about has anybody been keeping up with the cyborg drama at home? I know we have.
Goodness.
I know we have.
I've
been very invested.
I've heard the recent developments of it's much worse.
It's much worse.
It's
much
worse. Yeah.
It's much worse apparently.
It's like I heard the Charisma Carpenter talk.
Charisma Carpenter and like pretty much everybody in Buffy.
Sarah Michelle and
all of them, everybody.
Them too.
They came forward too after Charisma Carpenter.
Well, David Boreanaz, they kind of had to lean on him a little bit.
The actor who plays Cyborg, he came forward. Ray Fisher came forward and said, "Look, I'll take a lie detector test."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're still trying to bulldoze over him.
Yeah.
That explains it, because I was trying to figure out, because the problem is that I kind of heard the beginning of it and was like,
and no matter what
true.
now, no matter what happens, Ray Fisher's career is over.
He's got a role.
As far as
it's not going to be what it could
Warner
be.
Brothers will never hire.
Warner Brothers will never hire him again.
Yeah.
Ray Fisher will never work for Warner Brothers again.
Yeah. So they will either recast Cyborg or they will just exclude him.
They're excluding him entirely.
Well, they're excluding him from the Flash movie. He was originally scripted to be in the Flash movie,
and it was not a cameo. It was supposed to be like a pretty integral part of it.
Are they still talking Flashpoint for the Flash movie?
That I don't know. All I do know,
if they are, that would have been the perfect opportunity to recast them.
All I do know is that in recent news, and this is not Black History, but it's still important. So because Ray Fisher is not going to be in the Flash film, they rewrote the part for Supergirl, and they just cast the first Latina Supergirl.
Yeah.
Oh, neat.
So the new Supergirl is going to be Latina, and she's a soap opera actress that I'm not familiar with, but both Melissa Benoist and Laura Vandervoort actually tech messaged and posted in support, and her reaction. If you watch the reaction video, they told it was one of those ones where they recorded them telling her she got the role, and it's just really you get a good energy. You get a good energy. I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, I mean, in today's world where everything has to be done through Zoom or Skype or something like that, it makes it easy.
It makes it easy,
right?
But,
it's like
a part of me is still thinking a lot of that is trying to get past the Ray Fisher, trying to
that may be.
do a positive spin on
what
stuff
it is.
that,
Still, I think it's going to be good. I'm really.
But with the backup of the Buffy cast, I mean,
it's a lot more than just that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, no.
But I mean, even an executive came out and said some things about. But anyways, it's just, I think it's unfortunate because I think Ray Fisher did an amazing job in Cyborg, and I think that we will be so lucky to see what he did in
the
Snyder Cut. It's like
begrudging
as it is, I'm like, crap, that means
even though he is not coming out into the Flash movie, he is going to get his extended part in the Zack Snyder's Cut movie. And also, oh my gosh, what's the actor's name?
Did you hear Zack Snyder's not getting a penny for doing all this work to get that Snyder Cut out?
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently they're not paying him for it.
Oh, wow.
Because the whole reason he didn't take a paycheck was so that he would have full creative control to put out exactly what he wanted.
Okay.
I don't remember the name of the actor, but one of the things that he is putting out there is the character of General Ellis from the Superman, from Man of Steel movie and also the Justice League movie. He actually was intended to be, to Zack Snyder, he was intended to be Martian Manhunter undercover. So another black superhero that's going to come out is he's going to be revealed to be Martian Manhunter. So we're getting Martian Manhunter in the Snyder Cut. So
I heard. It's like the things I have learned are just way more out of control than I planned.
Yeah. So
at first it was like, oh yeah, we're just gonna redo this, and I was like, okay, whatever. And they're like, Cyborg's gonna have a bigger part. Great. Joker's gonna be in it. Oh, okay.
I don't like
Darkseid's in it.
Joker.
I was like, what?
I don't like their Marilyn Manson Joker design, especially. I don't like it. But
it's on brand for the character enough.
Well,
I'm like, whatever.
I'm looking forward to seeing it because it's going to be more in line with what was originally intended for the Joker
right?
in the Suicide Squad.
It's like for historical purposes.
Yeah.
I want to know because this has become such a big balls to the wall experiment that I'm just like, let's see what happens.
You heard what Warner Brothers wanted to do, right? With the Snyder Cut, they just wanted to release it with no visual effects.
Oh, okay, like that one Wonder Woman movie we saw.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the thing is that most of it was green screen and all that. It was all in black and white.
Yeah, it's like no.
Well, speaking of the Suicide Squad movies. We are getting a new James Gunn directed Suicide Squad 2, which is actually
the Suicide Squad.
The Suicide Squad.
That's
a
what
big
can't do a 2.
Suicide Squad, and you can't put a 2 because that would be admitting that the first one is a failure. So this is a sequel, not a sequel. I don't know, but the thing I find interesting
not
is
a direct sequel.
The thing I find interesting though is the character of Bloodsport, which will be played by Idris Elba. And we were talking earlier, like Bloodsport. When Anna first came to me and goes, Bloodsport's going to be in this. Who's that? I'm like, nobody. Bloodsport's a nobody. He was like literally like a 3-issue villain in a Superman comic in the 90s. He's like lame.
And then I made him watch the entire lineup,
and
he was like, what?
Bloodsport, really? And Idris Elba was playing Bloodsport, and honestly, when we're talking, I'm like, I think that they were just hoping that nobody would notice that it wasn't Will Smith. It's so close in the name, and the name is so close to Deadshot and Bloodsport, and I'm thinking they're like going, well, maybe they'll think that they just recast him or something.
It's like, well, it's Bloodsport, and then it's Deadshot, and then even though I still see him during his Fresh Prince days, it's like they look close enough in age that you could be like, yeah, whatever, man.
Yeah, they just another actor.
But that this is a later down the line. He's doing this stuff. Like, they could try to get away with that, even though I'm like, they're 2 different colors. They don't look like the same person.
Yeah.
It's like, but it still was such a jarring thing because the Suicide Squad
is. Smith's not unattractive, but Idris Elba's just gorgeous.
Yeah. Oh, he's great. But it's one of those things where there is a huge lineup of supervillains in this that I was like, really?
Oh yeah, like they deep cut superheroes and stuff too.
And some of them that I was like, you got to be kidding me! They're doing King Shark.
King Shark.
Well, they had to do King Shark. They've been doing him for a bunch of Suicide Squad stuff.
Yeah.
I was just surprised that they were like, by the way, no, we're not doing the other guy anymore. It's King Shark.
Peter Capaldi is the thinker, and I'm like, I just only just waiting, and he's got his head shaved, and it's just freaky as heck. Says he doctored him with his head shaved and like metal spikes coming out of his head.
Well, now that you've told me about Peacemaker, I'm still like,
you know what? We're gonna talk about that in its own little thing because
I don't know how I feel about John Cena.
So, do you have anything we need to wrap up with?
Yes. So,
do we have anything else worth talking about?
Yes, we have about 15 minutes more stuff to go. But you're right. We do at the hour point. Make sure everybody knows to go and like and follow us on you can go to BrazRedWeb.com and get the links. But if you go to YouTube under Kaiju Labs Media, like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any ideas for shows or things you want us to find out about, or you want to correct us, just feel free to message us and let us know how we're doing. We're going to go on for a few more minutes because there are a couple of really cool things we still haven't touched on.
Yes.
So going from still going with the with the DC Universe movies and stuff. Zoe Kravitz, Catwoman.
Yes, Catwoman. I'm so happy.
That is amazing.
We did it again, guys.
But and
we got another one.
I don't know who's the actor who's playing Commissioner Gordon.
Who is the actor playing Commissioner Gordon?
Not only are we getting our first Black Commissioner Gordon, we're actually they're creating a HBO series about Gotham, which will be, don't worry about it, a CW series about Gotham, which will be focused on the new Jim Gordon. So that's another really great.
Oh, Jeffrey Wright.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Wow.
Yes, and he's gonna have his own Gotham series.
Wow.
Also, if you haven't had a chance to catch up with the other Black-led DC superhero show on the CW, Black Lightning is started back up. I think they're on their second or third episode. I haven't had a chance to catch up with them.
Yeah, we should be on
last season, right?
And this is going to be the last season.
Very last season.
But the fun news is that they might be working on a Painkiller spinoff. The character on the show is called Khalil, I'm interested to see where that goes. because they're getting to the point now where they're having such strong writing for characters on other shows that they're creating essentially. Even though Painkiller was a villain in the comic book, he was nothing like he is on the TV show. Like in the comic book, he had dreadlocks with like knives on the end of them.
That's badass.
Yeah. So it was nothing.
That's a disappointment. But
That's
also
nothing
badass.
like that. But yeah, he was like whip your hair and slice your neck. But anyway, yeah. So that's an interesting thing to see. I want to see coming up and everything. And
because I think they could do some interesting things with him.
I think they
Because you had some really good writing towards the end of his story arc in Black Lightning.
Yeah. And there's room for that character to grow and more freedom of characterization.
That's not what I thought I was gonna see.
It's wild, right?
It's like
Why did you take safe search off?
No, I didn't go that far down. Even though it's like
still 90s extreme.
But they sort of give him dreadlocks on this. Just
he starts off with the dreadlocks.
In the Painkiller, in the promo stuff, it's like it's all shaved. So I'm like,
originally
well, yeah,
the character
when he becomes
Painkiller.
No, it's
just it's like when I see the contrast picture, I'm just like
when he becomes Painkiller, he has the dreadlocks, but then when he tries to go back to being Khalil, he got rid of them, and then now he's both. Now he's both. He starts off with no dreads, goes to dreads because apparently that represents evil. It's like the goatee for black people. Why? Yeah. So then it goes on to right. It's just like black dreadlocks makes you the villain, and then when he went back to good, the dreadlocks were gone, and then
because it made him look more civilized.
Yeah, apparently.
I don't
know. I think when he went to neutral.
When he went to neutral, yeah. So
it's this like me looking up the characters, the scary hyper buff character.
Yeah, that's
not what I saw in the promo.
The '90s,
extreme.
Whoa! I'm glad they toned him down a little.
Yeah. We talked about. Is there anything else in movie or TV news that I'm missing? Because there's a lot. Like I told you guys, there's a lot going on this year.
Yay! It's like I have no idea. It's like because my problem is I'm a loser who doesn't have real cable right now, so I don't keep track of this stuff like I'm supposed to. It's like I can keep track of everything else.
You know what? You're always welcome to watch it here when you come. Hey, Pocky, thanks for tuning in. We love hearing from you. Was there any other live action TV news or anything that we want to talk about?
Anything else to get excited about?
There's so much to talk about.
I mean, with black superheroes.
No, I know, but I can't think of anything because you put me on the spot.
Okay, then put you on the spot.
Right? It's like it's not fun under pressure.
There are.
We talked about Riri Williams. We talked about Moon Girl. We talked about Falcon Winter Soldier, which of course super excited about that. If you haven't seen the Super Bowl ad, you need to see the Super Bowl ad.
Yeah, see those Marvel Super Bowl drops. They were good.
Yeah. Of course, WandaVision, amazing. Really looking forward to it.
I am going to say one of the things, and this is one of the things I complained about. I wasn't here because I was having back surgery when you guys did the de-aging of characters episode. But one of my biggest complaints about having Peter Parker start over at high school again was because there's so many amazing storylines as an adult that they can't tap into until most of his contemporaries are gone. Like, even, I love Spider-Man Daredevil team-ups, but, if we're bringing Charlie Cox in, we've got an older Daredevil, and that doesn't have the same feel. They're not contemporaries of one another.
Well, I also hated, for example, in the Ultimate Spider-Man line, they made Black Cat older than him.
Yeah.
And it was the opposite. She was younger in the original when she was originally introduced.
Yeah.
Yep. Or it's like people who want the Deadpool Spider-Man thing, and I'm already like, no.
Yeah, no, not that.
No,
not that Deadpool, and not that Spider-Man.
You already ruined it, guys.
But in addition to eliminating some of the amazing storylines from a more mature Peter Parker, it also is limiting Miles Morales because we don't have Miles Morales yet, and for Miles Morales' character to really work, Peter has to be older. So I am looking forward to the day when they do introduce Miles into the MCU. But right now, it won't fit with Miles. However, they're working on the Kamala Khan series.
Yeah.
And that kind of saddens me in that my favorite Kamala Khan stories are her interacting with Miles Morales because they are such a great team up.
Well, and now, of course, Tom Holland is growing up as well. We may have an opportunity to see an adult Spider-Man at some point in any of the later Avengers movies, which would be an opportunity for them to then introduce Miles as they let Tom Holland move on to other projects, and they could still have a Spider-Man.
I mean, I don't foresee, as much as he likes the role, he's probably going to be like everybody else. At the 10-year mark, we're probably going to start seeing, like, I don't expect him to be Spider-Man for much longer than 2024. Because didn't Civil War come out in 2014? No, that came out in 2016, so he's still got a few years, right?
I don't know. Yeah. We'll see. But also, I mean, you know, there's
yeah, that is true.
Spider-Verse did have exactly because you had the I mean, of course, everybody calls him Dad Bod Spidey, but yeah, it was a good play off of each other, you know, and the hero who does it and better, and you the student who does it as bad.
I could have my dream come true, and he could be older, and then all of a sudden we get Mayday Parker.
That would be great. Yeah, that'd be great. So it'd be really interesting. Yeah, I think to see. That's kind of one of the drawbacks on the things. Comic books. There's a couple of quick comic book things that we didn't touch on because they weren't like super duper like important, but I think they're fun.
Well, obviously we didn't.
We didn't do the other history of the DC universe. We did not talk about this month. Marvel is doing Black History Month alternate covers for a bunch of their issues.
Yeah, they're really pretty too.
They're really cool. That's why. Let's see. One of them is the.
It's like there's a storm.
You seen that one?
That is one of them.
This is one of them.
Storm one.
Well, it's like I said, it's got Monica in her original outfit from Captain Marvel, which is really pretty. Which is why I was so excited.
Not really the original.
It is. You can't see except the cape. I'm assuming is flying behind her. See, she has an arm cape like Storm, sort of.
Okay,
I think they're just ignoring the cape.
They're just ignoring
the
cape.
The three covers I found were Blade, Valkyrie, Valkyrie, and Storm.
Cool.
Yeah, they're really cool.
Oh yeah, those kind of look almost like the Native American ones they did.
Yeah, they're real pretty.
Valkyrie is the new Valkyrie. There's she's replaced Brunhilde. She's like an alternate reality Valkyrie, but she's more in line with the one from the Thor Ragnarok film.
Yeah.
So that's another exciting new black superhero.
Which raises the question for the Valkyrie book.
I think she's still there. I think she's the one who's recruiting a new Valkyrie.
Okay, I was curious about that.
Because she was the last one, and now she's not the last one, so I think she's been rebuilding the Valkyrie. I don't read it. That's just what I catch from the synopsises and stuff that I played.
Right.
Also, another fun thing coming up, just because we're talking Miles Morales and how amazing of character he is. He's so amazing that they're making him into other characters. Heroes Reborn is celebrating its 25th year anniversary this year, and we might end up doing a whole entire episode on that because it was a glorious train wreck.
Yeah.
Glorious train wreck. However, it's basically, in a nutshell, an alternate reality that was done back in the day of 90s extreme. They wanted to like modernize a bunch of characters, and because it was an alternate reality, a lot of stuff got switched up like major big time. And but they're doing a visit back to it, which is going to introduce not only some of the O's characters that were lost to that, but they're building on the pre-existing storylines. And that means they're integrating a lot of the new characters who have come along since that storyline that have become popular and part of the culture known. And one of those is Miles Morales. And I know when you saw it, and I sent it to you, and you're like,
I was real confused.
She was confused.
I was like, why?
Why is Miles Morales Falcon? He's the Falcon in Heroes Reborn.
It's one of those. It's a series of specific choices that I was like, I feel like I need more context.
Right, exactly. I think same here. We need more context. But the cool thing about it is that while Heroes Reborn originally was done when there were very few diverse characters, this is going to be more interesting because they're throwing a lot more of those newer or reinterpreted or improved upon characters into the mix. So that's going to make, whereas the original was like, I personally thought it was just horrible. It was horrible. I couldn't read any of it. And it was just a pain to look at some of it personally. And
you know what? Thinking back on it, I think it was Marvel's 52.
Yeah, it was there. No.
Because at the end of it, it was revealed that it wasn't real.
No, kind of, sort of. But no, they never intended it to.
But it was altered by someone with cosmic level power.
All I'm just saying is Rob Liefeld got fired off his own book after like 3 issues.
I just damn.
So yeah.
Damn,
but,
man.
Yeah, some of these other characters, I'm really looking forward to seeing how they're interpreted. So
yeah.
That looks like we actually got all of it.
Yep.
We got all of the good news that we had coming out, including the loops that I threw in there for stuff that just happened this week.
Yeah, look at us go.
Yeah.
All right.
So hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode of the Red West.
Yeah,
Hey, brother.
we did it.
We hope you all guys enjoyed it, and we'll count just 2 weeks.
Yep.
Let's wait on 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, we're gonna have our friend John Sapberry, who you saw in our Hot Ones episode.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about stunts.
We're gonna talk about stunts. We're gonna do stunt choreography in live action superhero media. In fact, I foresee it being more than one episode, as much as we got going on. So please make sure you're checking us in and liking, subscribing, and we hope that you had a fun time joining us, and you're excited for some of these new things coming out, because we're truly excited.
We are.
Yes, we are.
Very much so.
Thank you very much, and y'all have a great one.